Over the past 2 years, I've carefully reviewed the staff reports, supporting materials, public testimony, legal advice, and other materials comprising the record before this council. I've also met with regional and state leaders, businesses, and members of our community. My understanding is further informed by more than a decade of civic involvement with the city prior to being mayor. I'm appreciative of the testimony we've received over the last 2 council meetings. It is important, but only one part of the record. I believe my responsibility is to consider the best interest in the entire Wilsonville community, including those who are not in this room. Our city attorney, Amanda Gall-Hinman, has an independent, ethical, and professional duty to provide legal advice that serves the best interests of the city and our community, not any particular individual on council, a council member, or outside interest. I have confidence in the professionalism, expertise, integrity, and legal judgment of our city attorney, as well as our city manager and city staff. No public institution, either at the local, state, or federal level, is perfect. But our democracy would not survive without these institutions. They provide critical services to our communities, and their expertise in what they do helps policymakers make informed, thoughtful decisions. This measure is being referred under a different legal framework than prior advisory votes on urban renewal, and is appropriate for the city attorney to recommend language that reflects the current charter as amended by Measure 3-632. Drafting ballot language is a legal responsibility that requires careful consideration of the city charter, Oregon law, and this specific resolution before this council. The decisions today will help define how our charter may be interpreted moving forward. That possibility is inherent in municipal government and does not alter my obligation to decide this matter based upon the record before me and the legal advice provided by our city attorney. As mayor, I begin with the presumption that the work of our professional staff has been carefully researched, thoughtfully prepared, and presented in good faith. While council ultimately exercises independent judgment, I believe that presumption is both appropriate and necessary to effective local government. Reasonable people can propose different wording, but the existence of alternatives does not mean the city's proposed language is legally or professionally deficient. The town center plan has been part of Wilsonville's comprehensive plan since 2019. It represents approximately 10 years of discussion and planning, including approximately 4 years of pre-adoption planning work and approximately $1 million in documented public investment through 2019 alone. The documented financial investment represents only part of this community's commitment. It does not include the thousands of hours devoted by city staff, the Planning Commission, City Council, volunteers, legal counsel, public outreach, and implementation efforts since adoption. The true investment is substantially greater than documented expenditures alone. Since adoption in 2019, there have been another 7 years of reliance on the plan in city decision-making by the city, property owners, business developers, and public agencies. The plan was developed through extensive public involvement, technical studies, Planning Commission hearings, and City Council deliberations. Based upon this record, I conclude that the Town Center Plan represents one of the city's most significant long-term planning investments, both financially and in the countless hours devoted by staff, elected officials, volunteers, and members of our community. Why this plan matters. The adopted Town Center Plan advances many of Wilsonville's long-term goals, including housing, economic development, infrastructure, private investment, and a vibrant town center. The plan supports Wilsonville's future workforce and educational partners. For example, the Oregon Institute of Technology and Clackamas Community College are preparing the engineers, healthcare professionals, technology workers, skilled trades, and other employees our community will need for decades to come. Housing opportunities created through the plan help make it possible for our children, grandchildren, students, faculty, workers, first responders, healthcare professionals, seniors, young families, and others to live in the community they serve. I conclude that Wilsonville's ability to attract technology companies, advance manufacturing, innovation, and family wage jobs depends in part upon providing housing opportunities in order to maintain a growing workforce and further strengthen economic development here at home. My understanding of reopening the town center plan since it was raised. Some have suggested this beyond just addressing the height waivers that we are in the process of addressing. Based upon the information I've received and reviewed, I conclude that substantially reopening the adopted center plan is not a minor revision, especially if we're talking about housing. It is a major planning effort that would fundamentally restart years of planning already completed. Staff have advised that this process would require approximately 7 more years and approximately $1.5 million in today's dollars, for any thought of changing the existing plan. That figure does not include other collateral costs to the city. Any effort to reopen the plan would also have to wait until completion of a transportation system study, transportation system plan, urban renewal task force, and other related needs. It would require additional public outreach, technical studies, consultant work, planning commission hearings, city council deliberation, and substantial additional staff resources. It also has a significant legal and planning implications that future council will need to address, including updates to the housing needs and capacity analysis, housing production strategy, transportation system plan, water system plan, sewer distribution master plan, the comprehensive plan, and other related planning documents. As I understand the record, much of that work would likely require general fund resources in addition to the direct cost of reopening the plan itself. I'm going to discuss broader community impacts. I conclude that reopening the plan would delay critical infrastructure improvements and postpone the community's benefits the plan was designed to achieve. As I understand it, engineering staff would need to redirect significant time and resources to this effort. Charbonneau planning work would likely be deferred. The Stafford and Advanced Road projects would likely be delayed because of the time required to redo any proposed redo of the town center plan. Those delays would in turn slow development in Frog Pond. I conclude that reopening the plan creates uncertainty that discourages private investment while that process is underway. I conclude that reopening the plan places the city's competitiveness for certain state, regional, and federal funding opportunities at risk. I conclude that it may ultimately leave the future of town center to be shaped by outside interests rather than through the shared vision adopted by this community. I see no evidence that reopening the plan would produce greater community consensus after another 7 years of planning. Every community eventually reaches the point where planning must give way to implementation. Based upon the public record before this council, the information provided by our city manager and city attorney, and the materials I have carefully reviewed, I believe Wilsonville has reached that point. Ultimately, my decision rests upon 3 principles: stewardship, understanding consequences, and creating opportunity. Stewardship requires respecting the years of public planning, technical work, community involvement, and substantial public investment that produced the town center plan. That work has guided city decisions from the beginning, and especially since 2019, and has been relied upon by residents, businesses, developers, and public agencies. Understanding consequences means looking beyond today's debate. Based on the record before me, substantially reopening a plan will require years of additional planning, significant public expense, updates to numerous city planning documents, and delays to infrastructure and economic opportunities that our community has been working toward for more than a decade. Creating opportunity means planning for the people who will call Wilsonville home in the future. Students, teachers, healthcare professionals, first responders, and all the individuals, especially seniors and young families. A successful town center should create opportunities for them all. Many Oregon communities have continued investing in vibrant downtowns and town centers that have become destinations for residents and visitors alike. Wilsonville deserves that same opportunity. Based upon the record before me, I believe Wilsonville has reached the point where years of thoughtful planning should now give way to implementation. Stewardship requires that we respect the extraordinary public investment that has brought us to this point. It also requires that we recognize there comes a time when planning must be followed by action. The remaining question before this council is not whether each of us would make precisely the same policy choices. It is whether the people of Wilsonville should have the opportunity to decide whether to move forward with this urban renewal district. I believe they should. For those reasons, I will vote to refer the measure to the voters of Wilsonville. Further, after reviewing the materials and considering the advice of our city attorney and staff, I'm satisfied that the proposed ballot measure as drafted by the city attorney accurately describes the measure before the voters as required by the current charter, and I will vote in favor of it. I will vote in favor of resolution number 3279. Nothing in these legislative findings that I've presented should be interpreted as suggesting that reasonable people cannot agree. Rather, they reflect my independent evaluation of all the information properly before me in my capacity as mayor, including the public record, the advice of our city attorney and professional staff, and the testimony and materials presented to this council, together with the conclusions I've reached based upon the record.